Good day. Today we will be looking at the November 2022 paper 2 question 8. Okay, let's read our question. So it says, in the diagram, O is the center of the circle. So I've marked O. It's very, very important that we pay attention to our center of the circle because it gives you a lot of information. Then it says MNPR is a cyclic quad. How do we know that this is a cyclic quad without having them told us? And we know because MNPR, all the 4 edges sit at the edges of the circle. SN is the diameter of the circle. Chord MS and radius OR are drawn, and they give us one angle of M2 to be equal to 64. Now let's take a look at our questions. So we've got 3 questions here which are saying determine giving reasons the size of the following angles. The first question they want us to, the first angle is angle P. Okay, looking at angle P, it falls within the cyclic quad, and we were given this angle of 64, so we should use it. What do we know about opposite sides of a cyclic quad? Opposite sides of a cyclic quad are supplementary, and supplementary means that they are equal to 180. So angle P plus angle M2 is equal to 180 degrees, and the reason is opposite angles of a cyclic quad. We know what M2 is equal to, so we can substitute. And then angle P is equal to, let's use our calculators, 180 minus 64. Angle P is therefore equal to 116 degrees. Okay, let's move on to the next question, which wants us to calculate angle M1. So let's take a look at angle M1 and where it's located. So key important thing is that they told us that this triangle here, SNM, they said SN is the diameter of the circle. And so we've created a half circle here. And what do we know about angles in a semicircle? They have the corner equal to 90 degrees. So we know that an angle in the semicircle, this is the diameter, so this angle in the semicircle has to be equal to 90. Therefore, we can calculate M1. So 8.1.2, angle M1 plus 64 degrees is equal to 90 degrees. And our reason is angle in semicircle. And then we can easily find M1 because angle M1 is equal to 90 minus 64. So angle M1 is equal to 26 degrees. Okay, the next one says find O1, and O1 is situated here at the center. So what rules do we know about the center of the circle? We know that any angle at the edge, so an angle at the center is 2 times the angle at the circumference, because what we're trying to do here is we're trying to use 64 as much as possible because 64 was given to us, and they are giving it to you for a reason, for you to use it as much as possible. So angle O1 is therefore going to be equal to 2 of angle M1. And angle M1 we calculated to be 26. Do you see why we are using M1 and not M2? Because M1 is connected in a segment to O1, but M2 is not. That's why we're using O1 and not M1 and not M2, because as you can see here, there's a segment, but M2 is not in a segment with O1. So 2 times 26 is 52. Don't forget our reason, which was angle at the center is equal to 2 times the angle at the circumference. Okay, so we have finished the first part of this question, which was 8.1. Let's now move on to 8.2. So it says, in the diagram, triangle ABG is drawn. DE are midpoints of AB. So they're telling us that D is at the midpoint of AB and E is at the midpoint of AG, such that AD is equal to DB and AE is equal to EG. Okay? They also tell us that we know that FG is parallel to HC. And this, as you can see, already is pointing to a question on what? Midpoint theorem. In both triangles, in this triangle here, because they gave us the sides to be equal, as well as in this triangle here, because they gave us parallel lines. So without even looking at the question, I already know that this is going to be parallel to this because of these equal sides, which state in midpoint theorem. And this is going to be equal to, let's use different ones, it's going to be equal to, let's do an S and S. It's because of those parallel lines, without even looking at the question, because we know our midpoint theorem. Okay? So with midpoint theorem, if to those two sides, if that is the midpoint of this line and this is the midpoint, those are equal, therefore this must be parallel to this. Same goes for the converse. If they give us parallel lines, we know that these two are equal and those two are equal. Okay, so the first question says 8.2.1, give a reason why DE, here's DE, is parallel to B8, which we just spoke about, and our answer is going to be midpoint theorem. Okay, next question says, if it is further given that FC over BF is equal to 1 over 4, DE is 3x minus 1 and GH is equal to x plus 1. Calculate, giving reasons, the value of x. Okay, so that, when you see this type of question in a test, don't get overwhelmed and confused. That's a lot of information there. Work with what you know about midpoint theorem. Okay, so what we have here, we know that BG is equal to 2 of DE. That's also midpoint theorem, that this line is twice of this line. So let's write that down, because they give us DE here. So if BG is equal to 2 of DE, what is that going to mean for us? That is going to be 2 times 3x minus 1, which is equal to 6x minus 2. This is for BG. Okay, this 3x minus 1 here was what they gave us for DE. Okay, so we're working with what we were given. Now, because we're using midpoint theorem, we need to create ratios. Okay, and they are working with FC and BF, which is within this triangle. So we need to create ratios in this triangle here. So we're gonna say GH over BG, so we're working on the same side, GH over BG is equal to FC over BF. Because we're looking at what they have given us here. They've given us GH, we have GH. FC over BF, we have that. And then no DE, but we just found an alternative for DE using BG. We found BG, which is what we need. So we have everything in this ratio. And make sure you give a reason here, and the reason, you can either use proportion theorem as your reason, but when you use proportion theorem as your reason, you must give the parallel lines. FG is parallel to CH, or you can say line parallel one side of the triangle. Okay, now we can substitute. So this FC over BF, we know it's 1 over 4. They've given us that. GH, they've given us to be x plus 1. And BG, we calculated to be 6x minus 2. Now we just need to cross multiply. Okay, so 6x minus 2 times 1 will remain the same. 4x plus 1. 6x, I'm so sorry. So let me repeat what I just said. So we know that FC over BF is equal to 1 over 4 was given to us here. GH is also given to us, and then we calculated BG. Now we cross multiplying. 6x minus 2 times 1 gives me 6x minus 2. 4 times x plus 1, 4x plus 1. So I want to first simplify this before we can isolate our x's to one side. So minus 4x is equal to 4. So remember, sign changes, plus 2. I'm going to have 2x is equal to 6. Divide by 2 on both sides. X is therefore equal to 3. This was a 6-mark question, but can you see that it was not that difficult to calculate if we just worked with what we were given? Another thing that I didn't mention was here, BG is equal to 2DE. You need to state why you know that, and that's because of midpoint theorem. Okay, let's quickly take a look at our mark allocations for this question. So we're going to work backwards up because we just worked with this question. And in this question, I just said it was 6 marks. 6 marks is a lot of marks, as you can see, and we didn't even do that much of working out. So your first thing is for your statement and your reason. So that's 2. Your next statement and reason, another 2. Your equation with x is 1, and your answer. And that's 6 marks. Okay. The previous one was just 1 mark, midpoint theorem. Okay. And then the first part where we just had to find angles with 2 marks each. 1 for your statement, 1 for your reason. 1 for your statement, 1 for your reason. 1 for your statement, 1 for your reason. Very, very important that so it's 2 marks times 3, which is 6. So in total it was 13. But I want you to pay attention. The most important concept that you should remember from this question is that statements are very important. If one had just gotten all the answers right and not given statements, they would have lost half of the marks in this section, which is a lot. Okay, so I hope you understood this question. We're going to look at question 9 next.